Welcome back to another video. This is focused on a longsword sparring from last week. I've been working on trying to get my footwork a bit better and positioning a bit cleaner. It matters for all exchanges, but especially for thrusts. I will do light analysis on most of the exchanges. We are starting with thrusts. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of back and forwards movement. But when launching forwards, I attempt to also go slightly to my right side in order to avoid the incoming attack from my opponent. In this case, after I did a hit, I try to stop my thrust going in, and that's why I received an afterblow. In this exchange, there is a tap on my sword which I use to go inside. The distance was already broken in. For this exchange you can see me slightly going in, stopping at one spot and then launching forwards to finish my thrust. Again, a few attempted strikes, then a thrust going mostly inside, slightly above my target. In this exchange, I go again. I catch on the back of the head protector while going to my right side. This thrust is very light, it barely grazes on the mask, but my opponent here calls it in, so we stop the exchange. My opponents are both my students and friends we frequently train with. As I prioritize thrusting high, this leaves my arms and torso open and sometimes slight cuts can reach there. In this exchange you can see my opponent does not really parry my first strikes, only moving backwards, so I'm free to continue with my second intention, going in with a thrust. The next exchange is something that I've been considering how to classify, and while I'm thinking about doing a krump or shield, it's most probably just a thrust to the lower opening, going high to protect against an attempted afterblow. But now we do start with the krumps or shield, depending on how would you like to classify them. As you can see, I try to parry several times and then do a head strike. This is a good way to make sure that my positioning is sound to prevent from attempted hits against me. But sometimes you just have to go in, trying to go slightly to the right to make the strike. Turning the short edge to attempt a hit to the top of the head. Shilhao is usually described from the right side and not really from the left shoulder, so this is why I'm saying it's not really a shield, but it's also not really a krump, but depending on how would you like to classify, it could be either. Going to the left shoulder and striking with the short edge towards the top of the head. And now my so-called bread and butter, the zwerg. I usually don't do Zwerghaus as an initiating movement, but after we are closing distance and some parries have occurred, I have a pretty good success rate with my Zwerghaus, especially the one going from right to left. Here you can see that I even caught my opponent between his arm and head. Another way to go in distance is to close the line, parry the attempted hit, and then deliver 2 hits of my own, both with the short edge. A good parry riposte, simple, but the riposte is with a Zwerghau to defend against the upcoming attack from above. In this exchange, I attempt a strike from my left side. It's parried, and then we go in close distance and exchange several more attempted hits while I land 2 sparrings. This is an interesting exchange because we don't actually do a lot of parry riposte, just change distance a lot and miss. And while I'm going out, I manage a hit to the head. Against left-handed opponents, I'm forced to do more sparrings from the other side, but it still works well. Here we've landed 2 other types of cuts. This also could have been a sparring, but I have decided to strike the arms and retreat. Striking the arms while going in or retreating can work pretty well to avoid the attempted hits to close distance. This is a longer parry riposte exchange, which ends with a hit to the top of the head. In this exchange, I go in, strike the left side of my opponent, and he does not manage to land his own cut. Against retreating opponents, going for the arms is an easier way to score a clean hit without going into close distance. It also works when people expect a specific type of attack, especially when they expect an attack from the other side. And now we'll continue with some more exchanges that get into closer distance. They usually result in sword grabs, and while I can do them against all sorts of opponents, it's much easier to do them if you are taller or stronger than your opponents. Bobo here attempts one as well, but does not manage to get a good grab of my sword, which allows me to go out and do a slice while his cut is caught on my guard. In this final exchange, you can see an attempted Krump shield from my left, which gets parried because I don't execute it well, but I manage a grab and a one-handed cut. That's all for today. See you next time.